Radio. And so I just took my break, ran over here because I wanted to be with the Take Two family. But yes, a lot of pledges are coming in. A lot of folks are saying how much they love the programs they hear on EWTN. So it's a great feeling. Although, as you can hear, Jerry, I got a little bit of a scratchy throat, and I think that's from traveling across the country, going from 87-degree weather in Arizona down to 40-degree at night. And so you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I'm very grateful that you gave a shout out for prayers for me when I was doing some pledge drives and my voice was wavering a little bit. So I'm going to return the favor and ask everyone listening today, let's keep Debbie in our prayers. She's got a couple more days after today there at Annunciation Radio. And it's tough, Debbie, as you know, when we rely on our voices for our professional careers and ministries and so forth. It can be a little bit dicey when Mother Nature wants to maybe take a little bit of a turn for the worse.
Oh, yeah. You say many, please God, let me hang.
Get me through this.
Get me through this one break, please God. But you know what? Yeah, it's really interesting. But the folks here at Annunciation Radio have been just superb about, getting me hot tea and some lemon, and it's been great. So I'm hoping we have a great rest of today and 2 more days, and we get to full funding because Jerry, Catholic radio is needed now more than ever, especially in the world we live in. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, the kind of society we live in. And it's, to me, at my age, it's frightening to look at.
Yeah, Debbie, I'll invite you to kind of set this up for our listeners, but I kind of see where you wanted to go with this. Do we have a throwaway society? And we get into such a mindset sometimes. Everything's disposable. Everything is... it's not worth keeping things. We don't see the value in things, especially in persons and relationships and things like that. So I'm excited to hear what our listeners have to say about this.
Yeah, I think in today's culture we've become so used to the fact that when things wear out or we don't find them useful anymore, we toss them. And we get a new one, or we upgrade, or whatever, and that's part of the way we're living nowadays. And Jerry, let me just point this out. Let's be really honest. Let's be really get real with this. When you see somebody with a flip phone, don't you kind of needle them? What right? Don't you say to them,
you still got that?
Exactly. You still got that archaic phone. Oh, I remember when there was the brick phone and how big that was. You're just one step above that. You got to catch up, man. You got to catch up with us. That's the kind of mentality that I think we're all living in. And is that healthy for us? Is that healthy for the body of Christ? We are all the body of Christ. And when one of us is wandering off or doing things that is hurting the body, we're all affected. And so I think this is a worthy discussion. We titled it "Get Rid of It" because that's the kind of society we're in. With you said, from cell phones to relationships, and let's we have to absolutely give a mention to the fact that in the U.S. almost 1 million babies a year are aborted. I mean, talk about throwing away life. And so we're talking about everything in between, and it does that affect us, or is it okay? I mean, can we just kind of coexist with this mentality, and it really doesn't affect our spirituality? That's what we want to hear from you today. What do you think about this? And let's really have a deep discussion, but a very open discussion that we can talk frankly about it, because I think sometimes we don't want to look like we're kind of nerdy, if you will. I don't even know if being a nerd is a word anymore, but we don't want to look like that. So we want to keep up with our friends and our family members. But let's really hear from you if this makes sense for us in the long term for our spirituality. 1-800-585-9396. That's the number to be on the show. We're talking about, do you think we have a throwaway society, and what does it mean for us? I think this can be a good discussion if we have full participation, Jerry.
Yeah, for sure. 1-800-585-9396. We do invite you to call early in the show. We always hate to leave people on the lines when we get to the end of the broadcast. 1-800-585-9396. And I think one of the things, Debbie, that you had in mind, and I think is very important for us to explore with you, our listeners, and your thoughts and your takes on this is, as we have this mindset in our culture, something new comes out, we toss the old one. We get we have this whole idea that things are so disposable and we can just throw things away on a whim. And so, how does that then get extended into areas where we should not think that way, like marriages, for example? We have some people say, it's just not working, with my spouse anymore. I'm just going to kind of chuck this relationship and get another one. And you mentioned the abortion mindset, Debbie. I'm wondering if anybody senses that there might be a tie-in, a connection here between how we look at things in the world as just being so easy to toss aside, set aside, or throw away. And has that really brought us or helped to bring us to a place where we look at human life and we have devalued it to the point where if it's inconvenient for a pregnancy to occur, we just say, well, you know what? Let's just toss it aside and move on with our lives, which we know can't be done. We know the ramifications of abortion. So phone lines are starting to fill up, which is good, Deb.
Yeah, 1-800-585-9396. That means you have something to say about this topic. And believe me when I tell you this, we always weave it into our spirituality because that's what Take Two is all about. We're trying to all get closer to God, and we can do this together. We can learn from one another. We can really catechize one another with our wisdom and our experience and our understanding of the faith in a true and orthodox way. So I think that this is your time. If you have something to say about this, if you feel that we have a throwaway society and it's getting worse by the minute, call in 1-800-585-9396. This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
This is Matthew Bunson, co-host of Register Radio.
This is Lauren Ashburn, EWTN News Nightly anchor and managing editor.
This is Archbishop Robert Carlson, the Archbishop of St. Louis. Thanks for listening to EWTN Radio.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
And I look at myself in the mirror and I think, well, where's the young guy? Where'd he go? What's wrong with this mirror, honey? My temptation is to focus on what I've lost. But as I think back on it, in my youth, I did not ponder the stuff of faith like I do now. But what I've gained is, I believe, a closer relationship with Christ.
The Doctor is in with Ray Guarendi. Weekdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
The Holy Father's prayer intention for the month of November is that Christians in Asia, bearing witness to the gospel in word and deed, may promote dialogue, peace, and mutual understanding, especially with those of other religions.
60 on 10 with Monsignor Charles Pope.
The 9th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. We already discussed in the 6th commandment the problems of sexual sins themselves. What the Lord is looking at here is rooted in this word covet. To covet means to inordinately or inappropriately desire something or someone. And in this case, the Lord is saying to us that we are in no way to covet, to look with lust at another person, particularly our neighbor's wife, but others in general. And therefore, all pornography and things have to go. All entertaining of lustful thoughts has to go. And God can help us by His grace to do that. And therefore, in this commandment, He summons us to take authority over our thought life and our sexual passions. The 9th commandment, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife.
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Always great to have you with us on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 1-800-585-9396. Feel free to comment on YouTube. You can also email. If you've got a take, you can email, and we check the email address during the program. It's take2, the number 2, at EWTN.com. Today we're focusing on this kind of this mindset, this overarching philosophy in our culture where just about everything is disposable. Everything is so easily tossed away, set aside, and that sometimes creeps into things where we should be looking rather for permanence and stability, like relationships and life and some very important things. So how does one affect the other, and how do we address this and maybe overcome some of these challenges that we face because of it? 1-800-585-9396. Please join us as Dwayne did in Alberta, Canada. Hi, Dwayne. You're up first today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Oh, that's all right.
How are you?
We were we're talking about, I like to recycle stuff as much as possible. So I'm of the Ukrainian Catholic Byzantine rite.
Okay.
And I make, for St. Nicholas Day, I make the Roman Catholics call it crozier for St. Nicholas Day out of the old lamps, the halogen lamps that I find broken. So I decorate them, put them in a suitcase that I find or decorate, and give them to the churches and schools for St. Nicholas Day.
Beautiful.
So
what do you think, Deb?
I try and recycle. I also even recycle the backs and sides of couches. I make flag bags or whatever bags and things like that out of them.
Dwayne, I have a question for you. Do you have friends that support your recycling? I think beautiful habit that you do. I think it's wonderful. Do you have friends that support it and maybe try to emulate you? And or do you have some friends that kind of give you the elbow in the side of the ribs, going, "What are you doing that for, Dwayne? Just throw it out."
Yeah, you got too much. Get rid of it. You got too much. Get rid of it. That's what I get.
Right.
Oh, you do get that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, go ahead, Dwayne.
Well, I do a lot of crafts, and I've done crafts ever since I was a kid. I used to get help from Mother all the time for having glue on the table or things like that. I take things apart, like record players and everything else, and put them back together and find about 10 parts still not where they should be, and going, oh, where'd they come from? I've always been a curious person, but I always loved crafts and sewing and stuff like that.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, you're really being a good steward of created material things, and I think that's fantastic, Dwayne, to hear. And I was just going to say that I kind of sometimes have the opposite problem. I look around some of the things that I have, and boy, there's so many things I could not necessarily throw away, but give away or donate or just kind of
I've
purge.
been doing that too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, purging is a very wonderful thing to do for yourself.
Right.
If, just emotionally and spiritually, everything about it is very healthy.
I just turned 60 last week, and my friends are saying you got to start getting rid of stuff, and I know that too. Mm-hmm. So I have been giving some stuff away, but I give it to people, and maybe they can use it and stuff.
Right.
So. And about the society, I think a lot of people are more worried about only three persons. Me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But Dwayne, that's why we're having this discussion today, because we're trying to somehow impart some wisdom out there to get folks to maybe buck the system a little bit, not just go with the flow of where the culture's going. And do you have any suggestions for all of us?
All I can do is just if what you are doing is not hurting somebody, destroying something, or doing damage to property, things like that, pray about it and keep going. Because we have to try and do a little bit. We can't do it all. We have to try and do a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, very good, Dwayne. Yeah, thanks, Dwayne, for joining us, being first up today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Great to hear from you there in Alberta, and have a fantastic day. And do join us. Glad that you're listening on Sirius XM 130. 1-800-585-9396. The throwaway society mentality. How does it maybe go a little bit too far sometimes in our culture today? Sean has something to weigh in on with here in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Hi, Sean. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great, Sean. Thanks for the call.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to comment that we really are a throwaway society. The reason, I think, is because everything has been so rush. Not everything's like let's take electronics, for example. You get a phone, like you were talking about, and then all of a sudden it comes out with another phone, and you got to discard that phone just to get that other phone because it has one more feature. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
And my question to you, I guess, is when do you decide enough is enough?
With relationship or things? Big difference.
Both.
Okay.
Really both.
Well, if I may, Jerry, if I can go first on that, because I'm really
Sure.
passionate about this, Sean, because first of all, for things, there's wants and there's needs. And I think I think what you said at the very beginning was so profound, where you said we just rush, we hurry to get the next thing. Well, yeah, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We don't want to be left behind, because everybody's going to, razz us and say, catch up. So we toss it and we go for it, because that's where the mindset is of the masses. But where what you said was so important, because if we would just step back and ask ourselves some fundamental questions, it's a key element of discernment. And so if we say, to ourselves, is this a want or a need? And we find out it's a want, well, then we're challenged at that point. Do we give in to that? And could it possibly be good could it possibly damage our soul in the long run? Could it be, hurtful somehow? And then you kind of, you process it that way. But we have to step back first to do that. And then with relationships, there has to be a lot of prayerful discernment in relationships, because you're dealing with other souls. And what you do can either bring them closer to God or drive them further away. And it's a terrible position to be in, if you will, a heavy responsibility, because it may seem on the surface like, wow, this relationship's not working out, I'm just going to let go of it. But you know what? We don't know. Maybe God has placed that person in our life for a definite reason, to help them, get to heaven. And so that's where discernment comes in. But here's the problem, Sean. Most people don't understand discernment. They think, I'll say a couple prayers to God, and if God gives me a sign, if I feel good after I'm praying, well, then that must be the right way to go. But that's not it. Discernment's very complex. You have to be in the right state of your spiritual state to receive the graces, to properly discern. You have to have a good prayer regimen. I mean, there's a lot of effort put into it. No different than a trainer that trains for a marathon. They're putting in a ton of effort to get in shape, to have the endurance, to be able, the stamina to run the race. Same thing with discernment. But Sean, you hit the nail on the head. We don't take the time. And in my opinion, that's the problem right there. Jerry, I know that was long-winded, but I'm very passionate about what Sean had to say.
Yeah, and I think the way you put it was very, very well said. I'm going to get back to something I brought up on the show before, Sean and Debbie, and that is, I think we have a lack, a real, a lack, I'm trying to find the better word, of critical thinking, critical thinking skills, and being able to, be discerning between, hierarchy of values, hierarchy of importance. That's why we're talking about this, where some people think it's just as easy to throw away a human life as it is to throw away an old cell phone or an old pair of shoes. And I think this just gets to a lot of, issues. It could be, that, people are just, the education that they're getting, the family situation, the formation in their consciences. Debbie, I think we've lost the ability to look at two different things and say one of them has greater value and worth. And of course, when it comes to human life, it's an infinite sort of, it's almost a divine sort of dignity and self-worth as it is infused by God. Relationships, like you said, too, are very, very important, especially marital relationships. And see, there's a hierarchy in relationships, too. The most important of those being marriage, and then, friendships and family and so forth. So I just think a lot of people in the culture have lost that ability to kind of line a bunch of things up and say, wow, some of these things are way more important than others. So that would be, my thoughts on that. What do you think, Sean?
I like what you have to say. Thank you. It makes a lot of sense.
Which one of us, Sean? Sean, which one of us, Jerry, or what I had to say? Just curious.
Actually, both of you.
Oh, yay! Okay, thanks, Sean. You're awesome. Thank you.
You made Debbie's day.
Yeah. No.
What was that, Sean?
What can we focus on instead of being a throwaway society?
Focus for me. I would say focus on the soul.
Focus on the soul. Okay.
Focus on the soul. If most people would take the time to think about what's good for their soul rather than what's good for their flesh, we would be in a much better state. But the problem is we give in to all our desires very quickly. That's what I would say, Jerry. What would you say?
No, can't add to that at all. I think that's very important. You know, the dignity and worth of the human person, the human soul, and not only, looking at others, but looking at ourselves too. Like you said, Debbie, every decision we make, everything that we do, every action that we perform is going to have some impact on our soul as well. And we need to be able to discern, what's going to be in the best interest first of the other and then of ourselves as well. So, Sean, great to have you on the program there in Massachusetts. Please keep Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and EWTN Radio on your dial there, and we hope that you'll join us again.
Thank you, Sean. Jerry, real quickly, if Sean's still listening, I just want to say something. I want to clarify something I said. I talked about being in a kind of a terrible position with the fact that, what we do can have an impact on others' eternity. What I mean by that is I want to rephrase that. It's not a terrible position. In today's world, it can be a horrible position because we have the world caving in on us. But it actually is quite an honor and privilege that God allows us to cooperate in salvation. And I think that's awesome. It's an awesome responsibility, but the world makes it very difficult on us, very difficult. So that's why we have to go against the current, especially as Catholic Christians. You have to be very courageous and tough to be a Catholic these days. I really believe that, a full, true Catholic. So just wanted to clarify that.
Very good. All right, Courtney, we're going to go to you in just a moment here. We've got others on the line being screened as well. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Phone number is 1-800-585-9396. So, Courtney, hang on there in Virginia. Debbie and I, we got a quick little pause coming up here. So, leading into that, Debbie, I just thought it would give us a good opportunity to mention to folks that we are getting more interest and sign-ups for the Stand Tall retreat with you and me. And that's going to be in Coleman, Alabama, right near EWTN. So, anyone who joins us can maybe spend an extra day or two there and visit the EWTN campus, all the TV and radio setup and everything. But we're also going to take that wonderful day or kind of a half-a-day trip to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament in Hanceville and have you've really lined up a good itinerary for us, Deb. I'm really proud of you for doing that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, it definitely was Holy Spirit driven, I believe, because things just really lined up beautifully. So I believe that God wants whoever's going to show it, whatever 90 wonderful Take Two family is going to be there, they're the right ones to be there. So if you really, I think it's going to be a life-changing experience, and we want to grow closer to God. We'll develop some great friendships. We try to make it affordable for all. Bring your spouse, bring your friends, and take the weekend and just get really started off strong for 2018. Just go to jerryanddebbie.com. You can see the agenda. You can see actually have a link to St. Bernard Abbey, and you're going to get excited about it. And please sign up quickly because I believe by the end of the year, Jerry, we'll completely max out, which is a good thing. We'll take the full 90 and we'll have a life-changing experience.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be very real, down to earth. Debbie and I will present a little bit, but we just want to kind of gather together with you and just find out what makes you tick and share a little bit of our hearts with you like we try and do on the show. And all of us can just, let the Holy Spirit lead us and guide us in terms of how we interact and fellowship and all that. So it's really going to be great. Mass will be included with the monks there at St. Bernard Abbey. So again, you can go to jerryanddebbie.com. You can get information. There's no obligation to go there and just kind of peruse the schedule and the venue and all of that. But if you think you might want to go, as Debbie said, don't wait too long. Maybe this would be a good Christmas gift for your husband or your wife. Maybe the two of you need a nice little refresher, a little getaway. Well, what better way to do that than a retreat with people who think the way you do and love the Lord and your faith the way you do. So again, jerryanddebbie.com. Courtney, thanks for waiting. You're going to be next. We've got Lori and others to get to as well.
Post your intentions on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's website. To get there, just click on the bright yellow J&D logo at take2show.com. Jerry and Debbie personally reply to every prayer intention that's posted. Others will also offer you their prayer support. When there's something important you want prayers for, post it on the prayer wall on Jerry and Debbie's site. Visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo today.
And welcome to EWTN's Bookmark Brief. I'm Doug Keck. I just finished interviewing Vinny Flynn on his new book, 7 Secrets of Divine Mercy, published by Ignatius Press. And Vinny, why don't you give us an idea of what this book's about?
Well, if I had to pick one thing that it's about God the Father. That God is the Father of mercies, and that all of what divine mercy is about really relates to the Father's plan to have mercy on us all. And so I deal with, what that means and how everything we have in the church fits into that plan. And Jesus came to help fulfill the Father's plan of mercy. He makes the Father visible. And as Pope Francis is kind of screaming at us, Jesus is the face of the Father's mercy.
Right. We've got 7 Secrets of Divine Mercy. That's the book. Vinny Flynn is the author. Look for the entire interview. Look for our video blog, of course, and check out the book at EWTNRC.com, 7 Secrets of Divine Mercy. Thank you for joining us here on an EWTN Bookmark Brief.
Catholic radio, I believe, is the greatest tool for evangelization that the church has today. And I know this because we hear from people all over the world that tell us all the time they came to faith in Christ, in the Catholic Church, through Catholic radio. Guy that lives right next door to you, he might not ask you about your Catholic faith, but he'll ask us. He'll call in and say, tell me about the Catholic Church.
Dr. David Anders thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you.
This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. You drive it. You take it to great heights because of your participation. Courtney's been holding for, Courtney, a long time. I say we give you the Virtual Patience Award in Richmond, Virginia, listening on the EWTN app. Hi, Courtney. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
Good.
Fine,
how are
Courtney.
you?
Doing well. So I just wanted to speak to our culture of, the throwaway culture that you mentioned in regards to divorce, and just a little experience I had with an outside influence coming in and just sort of really trying to plant that seed into my family. I had some, challenges with my husband and I did have some challenges over the past couple years, and I'd always confide in my sister. I'm a convert myself. In 2015, I converted. My husband is, as y'all call it, cradle Catholic. And so my sister, I guess I would call her more of an agnostic, but in confiding with her, she very, very quickly brought up, divorce as a way out, and just, you don't have to deal with this. And, as a stay-at-home mom to 3 young boys and a husband who I love very dearly, it was distressing to me that she would so quickly, go to that as sort of a solution. And I think without my faith, I might have entertained that seed of doubt. And I guess my question is, what is the best way in going about when you have such close family members coming with you, at you with such, even with the best intentions, but with such potentially damaging beliefs, how to best skirt around that and just keep with the Lord and, just keep strong, I guess, is what I mean.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Courtney. What you're bringing up, I think we all have struggled with, and I'll tell you that's why Jerry and I bring up and we promote all the time for people to seek out some form of spiritual direction, because you need those trusted sources that are like-minded, that have your soul in first and foremost when they are delivering any type of opinions or advice or even church teaching, because hopefully they would be schooled in it. And here's the thing: you're close to your sister, okay? So she's your sister, so you're going to go to her. But already, the red flag for me would be the fact that you know she's an agnostic and you're not, right? Okay, and so there you go. She's coming from a whole different viewpoint, and this goes back to is your sister, I'm sure, loves you and would do anything for you. I'm pretty sure of that, because most siblings would do anything for one another. But your sister, it may not necessarily be tapping into what's best for your soul, and that's why it's very important to have a strong Catholic support system around you to keep helping you grow in your faith and be nurtured in your faith. Otherwise, you can very easily, just like the rest of us, go with that because you're saying, "Hey, she's my sister. I trust her. She's making some good sense. Yeah, okay, I'm out of the marriage. There you go." And that's it. Yeah. But and see, and you could almost put that situation, the same situation, when a young teenager goes to like Planned Parenthood, and why is it that Planned Parenthood will not let that young girl see an ultrasound? Well, you know why? Because now she's going to have a different feeling about the baby inside of her. She's going to have a different feeling. So what do? She's scared. She goes to Planned Parenthood. She sees some authorities that she thinks she can trust. They're telling her, "Oh no, we're here for you. We're here for you." So immediately she falls into it. And she goes along with it, and that's why there's tremendous regret afterwards, because a lot of people who have had abortions say, I wish I only had more information. And so that's what I think what Jerry and I are trying to share is that it's the same thing with our spiritual growth. We need a lot of trusted formation for our entire lives until we take our last breath, and especially right before we take our last breath, because that's when the devil is going to take his final and most aggressive attempt at us. So we must be formed in the faith constantly. I don't know if that helps you at all, but Jerry, I know I was just sharing with Courtney that we have to be careful who we pick as the ones we trust when we're making these decisions that could impact our soul.
Yeah, I really can't add anything to what you said there, Debbie. But like you said, sometimes it's people that we know, we love, they're in our inner circle, so to speak, and they can have maybe a little bit of an influence on us that others might not have. But Courtney, what do you think about what Debbie was sharing?
Oh, I absolutely agree that a strong Catholic community is so important. I'm blessed to have my children in a Catholic school, and so we know many like-minded families and many in our immediate area, and so we really have taken solace and just kind of getting more into our faith community. I don't want to create a bubble, though, and I do not share details of my marriage or my problems with my sister any longer. But there is a sense now of mistrust, and I almost wonder if it's an opportunity to evangelize with her, or if it's just kind of something that, we'll just be sisters and we'll always love each other, but kind of just let her have her views and I'll have mine.
Well, you just said something that's fascinating. We could do a whole show on it, Courtney. This idea of being in a bubble, because that can happen, and then you start to push other people away, friends and family members. But I think you meet them where they're at, and I think you allow them to experience you as a person that's going to emulate Christ, that's going to be Christ in the world, and let it kind of just in the beautiful sibling relationship you have with your sister, let it just evolve naturally. And you may be surprised. She may come to you someday and say, I'm really proud of you that you you didn't listen to my advice, that you stuck it out. Look at what's and so I think sometimes, again, with our throwaway society, we want, not that you're this way, Courtney, but we want immediate. Yeah, we want the immediate results. We want it right away. But look at Saint Monica. Look at Saint Augustine. Perfect example. She waited a lifetime for him to change, and he became one of the greatest saints. So that's pretty much all I have to say. But I tell you, I think you're in a great position. It sounds like you're really rooted in the faith, and I think your sister can really benefit from seeing you flourish.
Well, we will just continue to be ourselves and just show patience and and kindness.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Courtney, for the call. Yeah, that's a lesson I had to learn. I don't want to say the hard way, Debbie, but just with even some of my family. I remember, when I kind of had my reversion to the faith in my early 20s and was really on fire, when I was going to college at Franciscan University and, prayer meetings and Bible studies and all this stuff. And, I would look at some family members and friends, and they weren't at the same place. And, I'm not really sure I was in the place that I thought I was. I was probably very self-righteous, and in some ways it was a very, shallow, it wasn't really a deeply rooted faith. It was kind of that mountaintop type of faith. And and so, and I remember in my heart, thinking critically of people because they weren't in a certain place where I thought they should be. Over the years, it took a few, bumps and bruises for me to realize what you were just saying, and that is, and I put it this way before on the show, I think we need to live our faith matter-of-factly, not judging anybody, loving those around us, maybe not accepting sin, certainly, but loving and just modeling our faith in such a matter-of-fact way that they look at that, and then, like you said, her sister could one day just say, wow, you know what? It's really cool, the life that she has and that faith that she has and that joy that exudes from her. And, I want that, and so I think that's, I love the way you put that.
Oh, thank you. See, I'm 2 for 2 today.
I know. Keep going.
Okay. Don't put any pressure on me, okay? No, I'm just kidding. All right, Lori, thank you so much for waiting in Ann Arbor, Michigan, listening on Ave Maria Radio. Hi, Lori. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi. I'm glad to talk to you. You're probably my favorite program on the radio.
Wait, Lori, what did you just say?
Stop.
I just said you're my favorite program on the radio. You always talk about something relevant,
Oh, thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Lori. And we didn't even pay you to say that, so God bless you for that.
No, you didn't. No, what I wanted to say was I'm not going anything as serious as relationships and that kind of stuff. I'm going back the other way about throwing away things and not using things like we should. I think a lot of young people are that way because nobody taught them to be otherwise. They don't know how to conserve. They don't know how to make do. They don't know how to, let's say, bake from scratch because nobody ever taught them. I've been in a position where I've been teaching people to do certain things, and the younger ones are always amazed that they can do it. They don't believe they can do it, and I think it's a serious problem. Nobody takes time to teach them anymore, or to teach them to take the time to do something right and what the benefits of that are.
Lori, Lori, did you hear what you just said twice? You used the word time. You used the word time, and you are spot on. Because I shared this, I think a year and a half ago. I did a case study with junior high and high school students, and I had them, anyway, the long story short, it came down to how much time they were spending, quality time they were spending with their parents. Now, that not time like, go brush your teeth, go get your chores done, go do your homework, not that kind of time. I'm talking about really time, like you're saying, baking from scratch. And I was just saddened by some of the responses. One of the students shared that she was not exaggerating because I knew her very well. She's a very solid teen. She said she spends 2.5 minutes a day talking to her parents.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm. So what can you learn in 2.5 minutes a day?
Nothing. I can remember sitting with my grandmother for hours listening to her talk about when she was a kid, and then when she talk about something that she did or she learned, I'd go home and try it.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to do it, but I had to hear it from somebody. Somebody had to take time to talk to me, and that's just so sad that people don't talk to each other anymore.
Yeah. Lori, as you're talking, this is a great point, and one that I hadn't really even thought of, and that is we have at least one generation now, if not two, definitely one, that has grown up not knowing anything else. And so they're at a bit of a disadvantage, but it's not necessarily their fault, but there has to be some way, some end around to try to get to them and show them these other ways. There are better ways. We don't need to throw everything away, including opportunities. It just occurred to me that one of the things we throw away so many times are opportunities and time and chances to bond, like you're talking about with parents and things like that. But it is fascinating, Lori. Do you have any sense of how or when or where, or we could try and instill this idea in kids that baking from scratch, as you put it?
I think you have to take what you're good at and pass it along.
Yeah.
I think if you have a talent in a certain area, it's mentoring. If you have a talent in a certain area, and there are people that are interested in that area, try and pass it along. Try and get people interested in it, and the kids are interested. They just are not used to having anybody ask them if they want to learn anything.
That's very true.
Fascinating, yeah.
Yeah. Laura, you hit a home run with me, I'll tell you.
Okay, well, I appreciate your program. Like I said, I listen to it as much as I can when I'm not working, so...
Well, bless your heart, Lori. Thank you for listening, and we're sure you're a great supporter of Ave Maria Radio as well. And just a reminder for everybody, wherever you are, whatever station, however you listen to EWTN or other programming, please support that. Debbie is on location at Annunciation Radio this week for their pledge drive, so we all need to be generous in keeping Catholic radio on the air. And in fact, one of the ways that you can listen, if you aren't able to listen directly on your AM or FM station, is what's called podcasting. By now, you probably know what that is. It's just simply audio on demand. So, it's an easy way to automatically receive all your favorite EWTN programs. You can just go to EWTN.com/podcast and get more information there. Did I get that right? Yeah, it's EWTN.com/podcast. Okay.
Perfect.
And we thank Lori again for the call.
Yes, I would thank her a million times because she said nice things about Take Two. Thank you, Lori. God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Okay, Carol, you're next, but guess what? There's now an open phone line, so do you still? I think you could have time if you hurry to the phone and dial 1-800-585-9396. And come on, let's face it, you don't have to hurry to any phone. It's probably in your hand at your cell phone. So 800-585-9396. You can get on the show. Carol in Rochester, New York, listening on Amazon Echo. Hi, Carol. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. How are you? I wanted to, one of my little pet peeves about wasting things is people that kill animals for sport instead of for food. If you're going to eat the deer, okay, but just to hang its head on the wall, and people are going hungry, and we're wasting our resources.
It's interesting, the timing on you mentioning this, Carol, is I was listening to another Catholic radio show just within the last couple days, and this came up. And I think the point was made, and the Catechism addresses this, and our faith certainly would have something to say about this. Going out, and we are stewards of God's creation. We need to understand that God has given mankind dominion over all of the rest of creation, and provided, I think even in Genesis it talks about, the plants and animals were, Adam and Eve saw them, they would be good for food. If I remember that correctly, maybe I'm wrong, but in any case, we do have that right given by God, certainly, like you said, to kill animals, if it's for sustenance of human life and so forth. It gets into a little bit more of a problematic area, like you said, when you're just kind of going out and taking down animals just so you can hang a trophy on your wall. And I don't know, Debbie, I'm not well enough versed in this to really comment too deeply on it, but I don't know if you've had this question come up and discussed it before.
Not. I haven't really had it come up like in religious education, Carol. But I will tell you, I tend to lean towards being a vegetarian. So for me, I'm never really interested in seeing the animals on the walls. And as a matter of fact, when I go into restaurants and I see them hanging on the walls, it just doesn't work for me. So that's I really, yeah. I'm sorry.
It makes me sick when I see them.
Well,
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, because you're saying, people are going hungry, and this is shouldn't be put up as a trophy on the wall when there's people starving. And we have a international problem with that to begin with, and in all sorts of ways. I mean, just the waste that restaurants and different organizations have. I mean, we have a problem with that. I think we have to start just from the basics on how we need to take care of those who are poor and hungry. We have to do those works in order to spiritually grow and enhance. So, I mean, I think we got to go back to the basics. Carol, I don't know how we could fix that other thing, but I know that there are a lot of people that do have those animals, hanging on the walls, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think this, we're not commenting one way or the other on this, because again, I would definitely defer to more intelligent people than myself to make, a final comment on this, or, probably a moral theologian. But I think, again, it gets back to the intent, Carol, and I think you've touched upon that. I think if it's just to go out for the sake of killing animals, then I think there's a problem. But if the meat is going to be eaten, donated, what have you, in other words, in some way benefit mankind, with food and sustenance, then I think it's a different story. And if that's the motivation behind it, and the person decides to put the deer's head up on the wall or whatever, I don't know that that it causes that much of a problem for me. Again, if I understand and know that the motivation is, well placed, and that is for food, not just what they call, I guess, sport. That's right. But I got to leave it at that, because I know there are people listening who would come down on both sides of this, and it'd be very easy to cause kind of an uproar. But Carol, we appreciate your thoughts on this. You've definitely given it some very deep thought and prayer.
Yeah, and Carol, you just sound you sound like a deep woman, that you care about all of God's creation, and I think that's admirable. I'm happy you called in. There's no reason why we can't entertain this, because we all have different views on things. So Carol, thanks for calling. We appreciate it, and it did help our conversation today. And before I get any comments that if I ever eat meat, yes, I do eat meatballs, and it's only because it's true. I grew up Italian, and here we go, Jerry. It's part of my DNA. So I do have spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh yeah. You've had some very good ones as well, and
I brought sauce over to your house one time. Remember?
That's right. Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you.
You're making me hungry.
I know. You can't have any. I'm not making any till Sunday.
I'll bet you're getting some good food at Annunciation Radio.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just wonderful. The hospitality's been fabulous. But, this is why I love Catholic radio. We're a family, just like Take Two is a family. We can talk openly. We can agree to disagree. We can have some really, thought-provoking conversations that make us dig deeper and look at ourselves better. I love this. This is for me, this is a little slice of heaven on earth, because where do you get to do this? I certainly can't do it, just walking around the street saying, "Hey, would you like to talk about God?" They'd probably think I was, off my rocker.
Yeah, or even, we're at the holiday time as well, and that's another reminder that it's even difficult to do this with family and friends. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've just sort of just engaged in, how's the weather type conversation, just because that some things you say or that you think or you believe are not going to be espoused by other people. And so, yeah, it's a great forum. We thank you, our listeners, obviously, the affiliates who carry the show, and certainly the show team who always do a great job, Rich and Matt and Jeff and everybody else at EWTN.
I've got a lot of nice comments at Annunciation Radio about Take Two. They love the show topics, and we heard that again today with our callers. So thank you for sharing that. That really helps us to develop more topics in the future. And don't forget our monthly unscripted show. That's a great place to suggest some topics. And we're willing to entertain things. Like we're kind of going out on a limb tomorrow, but you go with us, because hopefully you trust us enough that you'll go with us. But tomorrow we're talking about this idea of, when the government tells us what size big gulp to have at the Circle K. Is that really, the right thing? Or should we be able to decide what size soft drink we can have and what our body can handle? Or maybe we do need somebody to monitor us. Maybe we get so extreme that it's problematic. And so maybe somebody does have to step in and remind us that our bodies, we have to take care of our bodies. But we should know that. Our bodies are the temples of the Holy Spirit. I mean, we should know that. So we're going on a limb tomorrow and talking about, is it the right thing for government to tell us what size big gulp to have? I struggle with. I don't drink soda, so I don't do much of anything.
Right. Well, yeah. To me, it's kind of similar to, I have a little bit of a problem with a lot of. Ways in which we have things kind of done for us nowadays. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the last time I turned a faucet on, in an airport, because, you just stick your hands under there and it turns on for you and turns off, and they now measure your paper towels, and they have the, what do they call it, the meter to get on the freeway, and the on-ramp, and, they tell you, I mean, can't I, am I not intelligent enough to be able to merge onto the freeway by myself, so, and I suppose it's maybe a safety thing or something. I don't know. I'm sure they have their rationale, but I think a lot of these things tie in, Debbie. It's like, we have to be kind of babysat in a way sometimes. So, yeah, I think it'll be a good conversation.
But does that mean we've gotten so far out of control that we need this kind of, parenting?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? I mean, maybe we've gotten so far off the path, and that's what I think we could maybe tap in tomorrow. So think about it, friends. Kind of process this and pray about it and see if you have something to say about it, because we really want to learn, just like we learned today. I mean, I think we all agree that we have a throwaway society. Would you say we probably all agree on that for who participated today?
Well, yeah, I think among those that called in today, there was a definite consensus on that, and I guess I would leave with a hope and a prayer that we would maybe be able to kind of recover from this, or rebound, or maybe come to our cultural senses, if you will, and just realize that, hey, yeah, there are some things that are disposable, that can be thrown away. Those are some of the conveniences of life, but when it gets to the more important, like I said, the hierarchy of values, into respecting people and relationships, and like you said, Debbie, especially the unborn, there can be maybe a little bit of a lack of appreciation for that. So that's my prayer as we end the broadcast today.
I love it. I'll take that prayer with you. So tomorrow, we're talking about that, what we just shared. Should the government be telling us what size soda to be drinking? That's tomorrow on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. But until then, Jerry and I just want to wish you a beautiful and blessed day. We'll see you real soon.